Hello, my name is Adolfo Navarro, and this is my human impact research project on habitat destruction due to industrial development. Pollution isn't the only way we impact the environment. When we look around our city, we see the effects of industrialization from air pollution, health problems, and sanitation. But there is one aspect that is being overlooked, since there has been a failure to address habitat destruction due to industrial development. The reason why it is important to address this is because it is destroying our environments, but it is also affecting species negatively. As you can see from the graph by Mohern, 2021, August 27th, the Statistics of Biodiversity Loss (WWF) report that compared to climate change, pollution, invasive species, disease, and species overexploitation, changes in land use, habitat loss, and degradation was identified as the most prominent threat to wildlife with a 52.5%, and North America had a sustained loss of biodiversity of 33% since 1975. Poor planning on infrastructure and its consequences. As it states in the 10th edition Marine Biology, Castro and Huber, 2016, degrading, landfilling, and even the use of explosives destroy habitats. Most destruction of habitats takes place along the coast, close to where people live, as in estuaries and mangrove forests. It results from poorly or unplanned coastal development, growing cities, increased tourism, and development for industrial and recreational uses, having radically altered the coastlines of the richer nations. So, as it states in the worldwidefund.org, if poorly planned, dams can increase water pollution, reduce block sediment flow, and jeopardize animal and plant life, both inside and outside the river. For aquatic animals that migrate, the wrong dam can hinder their movement and limit their ability to feed and reproduce. We're seeing the impacts of increasing temperature and changing flows due to climate change. Roads and other transportation corridors can also have negative consequences when poorly planned. They can divide habitats, and migration routes cause animal vehicle collisions, bring pollution, and create a pathway for further destruction. Mining, mining, oil, and gas. Harmful infrastructure can also include these, which are mining, oil, and um, gas facilities. These facilities risk human life and wildlife. At best, they still disrupt local communities, habitats, pollute air, water, and contribute to global climate change. So, as you can see, the problem can become severe, but I think this article hits home in how important this topic is, since it explains how human interventions such as habitat loss can deplete biodiversity. As it states in the article, 1 million animal and plant species are at risk of extinction in 2019. Since 1992, urban areas have more than doubled, roughly 75% of freshwater resources and more than one-third of the world's land surface. A third of all of the land on planet Earth is now devoted to crop or livestock production, which is worrisome because biodiversity is very important and needed for agriculture, for medicine, and for clean water. The point of this report was to link all of it together to show that this is a systematic problem and it is just not an environmental one. That this is about the future of humanity and that it is an everywhere problem. How much loss has there been of biodiversity? A new report from World Wildlife Fund and the Zoological Society of London, which analyzed years of data on thousands of wildlife populations across the world and found a downward trend in the Earth's biodiversity. According to the Living Planet Index, a metric that's been in existence for 5 decades, animal populations across the world shrunk by an average of 69% between 1970 and 2018. Not all animal populations dwindled, and some parts of the world saw more drastic changes than others, but experts say the steep loss of biodiversity is a stark and worrying sign of what's to come for the natural world. According to the report's authors, the main cause of biodiversity loss is land use changes driven by human activity, such as infrastructure development, energy production, and deforestation. It does not only affect the US, but the entire world. This article seems like a good approach to show how this can affect how this effect can have a global impact. In this study, urban development and industrialization impacts on semi-aquatic bugs diversity, a case study in eastern Amazonian streams, explains that this problem impacts not only the United States, but the entire world, since this orderly urban expansion brought on by the quick establishment of industry and the lack of sanitation can have a negative impact on community health and the well-being in the Amazon. Certain areas, industrialization and urbanization have both impact on aquatic ecosystems, including water quality, physical characteristics, and stream structure. The ecosystem is negatively impacted by the disappearance of riparian vegetation. Solutions and sustaining species. Within the article, cities can be portion of the arrangement in supporting species. Yale School of the Environment, 2022, Sito says despite the potential for loss of species from land expansion, the study highlights how cities can proactively protect biodiversity. The impact on species can be mitigated with the help of investments from the Global Environment Facility, with focused, targeted action at local scales and global agreements on biodiversity and conservation that put a focus on protecting the habitat of the species that are predicted to be the most vulnerable. Is there anything we are doing for habitat loss? You can see from this presentation that one of the major challenges to nature is habitat loss. Joe wrote the article in 2022. Global Summit is the last chance for nature. In December, an international treaty in which countries pledged to limiting the rise in global temperatures. Some of the key ambitions for the Biodiversity Summit include turning 30% of Earth's lands and seas into protected areas by 2030, ensuring that by 2050 a shared vision of living in harmony with nature is fulfilled, eliminating billions of dollars of environmentally damaging government subsidies, and restoring degraded ecosystems. The article continues by stating that Dr. Fernanda Carvalho, head of climate policy at WWF, said to the BBC during the climate conference, she said, "We may not have a planet to live on if they are not addressed. By 2030, the government has committed to the goal of protecting 30% of the land and ocean. The Wildlife Trust reports that there has been little progress to date, with only 3% of the land and 8% of the sea effectively protected by 2022. Ending thoughts, reflections. The most interesting part of my research was actually learning the severity of the situation, since I know from other things like pollution and global warming that we haven't been treating the planet well. And this is why I chose this topic, because not only was I not knowledgeable in this topic, but this helped tremendously. And now I feel like as if I can talk about it more with family and friends. This topic especially caught my interest while researching just to see if there are any solutions to this problem. I generally thought that since industrial development seems like a huge problem, I thought we were too late to change anything at this point. For which, by my surprise, there seems to be some ideas on how we can stop habitat destruction and gives me hope that we can save many habitats for biodiversity. The, the most interesting part of my research was actually learning the topic I think does affect not only myself but my family since I literally live around the city of industry. So I do think it affects me personally since I live in the heart of it, which I also think was one of the reasons I chose this topic since I've always seen the industrialization around me. What I think I can do about it is either start a petition that can help bring awareness to it, also talk about it more on social media, and where hopefully I can reach to everyone in the world about this cause and even find people on campus or friends that want to help in spreading the word so we can start to hear more voices to the point where we can support each other and have hope for a better future. I think if we keep going down the path of habitat destruction, we're going to start to see the consequences, like the possible extinction of many species. Sadly, it seems the most likely since there are many people who turn a blind eye on many things such as climate change, which therefore we can assume this won't matter. It's unfortunate since this same problem of habitat destruction could affect us. There is hope though, since there seems to be some progress in how there are people out there trying to bring awareness. Overall, I think it's going to be great. I don't think it's going to be great in the future 20, 30 years from now, since there is a possibility no one will pay attention to it. Thank you.